A lot of us, we're so ashamed. We don't want to talk about our problems. So we carry that burden of grief, and it's not good. And it begins to weigh us down. So it's very important to talk about it, release the weights. And then from there, I feel like, the journey of healing is more conducive. I'm not going to say it's more easier, but like I said, it's more conducive and more progressive because I'm not being held down or weighed down by any emotional baggage or any trauma.
This is By Joyan Season 2. I'm your host, Joyan Chan, and every Wednesday we bring you inspiring stories, powerful message, and fun conversations with me and my special guests and friends, and it's my personal mission to empower you to live and lead a life with joy. This podcast is for you if you're looking for more joy, courage, passion, and purpose in your life. Now let's dive into today's episode and get ready to laugh, learn, and live your life to the fullest. Our guest today is an author and psychiatric mental health nurse and minister who shares a journey of healing from trauma in her memoir, Healing the Hurt of Yesterday. Raised in difficult circumstances, she experienced emotional and physical pain that shaped her perspective on mental health. As a nurse, she has worked closely with individuals facing mental health challenges. Using her own personal experiences, she offered unique insight and care. In her memoir, she briefly opens up about her struggles and the transformative process of overcoming adversity. Her story is a powerful reminder of resilience, offering hope to readers who are on their journey to healing. So, ladies and gentlemen, help me welcoming the author and life coach, Demeka Vines.
Hello, everyone. My name is Demeka Vines. I'm from North Carolina in the United States. I am an author. I'm also an ambassador for Christ. I'm a psychiatric mental health nurse, and I'm also a founder of Godly Affirmations. It's an online prayer ministry on Facebook. So if you guys would like to reach out there, you're more than welcome to.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming to our show today. Now let's talk about your book, your memoir. It's a deeply personal account of your healing journey, right? And so can you tell us a bit about your story and what did you have to go through to become the person you are today?
Okay, so my story starts off from my childhood. Of course, I went through a lot of trauma, some mental, physical, and emotional abuse. And then also what kind of fueled me to write my book was the suicide death of my sister, in which she died last year. She died fatally, unfortunately, from an overdose. So that was kind of like my catalyst to go ahead and embark on a healing journey, and then also to write my book as well.
I'm very sorry to hear about the passing of your sister, and I know it happened last year, so it's still pretty fresh. The hurt, right, the wound and the grief. So let's talk about grief for a moment, because it's something that is so important and yet not many people want to talk about, right? But I believe the first path to healing is sharing it. So how did you heal from, the death of a family member?
So for one, I had to go through a series of therapy sessions as well. And then just going through and even talking with like pastoral staff, as well as spending my own personal time in my Bible and in prayer, just intimacy with God himself, because ultimately he was the only one to help me get through, my time of grieving and then even sorrow. This wasn't like the first tragedy within my family. Even as a little girl, I experienced the murder of my uncle. So my family has actually been through a lot, as well as myself. So at that point, even with my sister, it was like, okay, I need to embark on a journey of healing. I can't keep sweeping different things up under the rug. It's not healthy at all. So therapy and then, seeking God is like my biggest source of strength and help to help me get through, this whole season of grieving as well.
There's so many things to unpack here. So what were you trying to heal from? Was it trauma, childhood trauma, or mental health, or
trauma, just hurt in general? Anytime you experience a death of a loved one, especially someone that close, it does leave emotional wounds. It leaves a lot of hurt and a lot of unanswered questions as well. Not only like I said, my sister's death, but my uncle's murder at a young age, as well as emotional abuse as a child, some physical abuse as a child as well. So, and a lot of those things I didn't talk about. So I kind of swept it up under the rug, and all of it began to hit me at one time. So it's like, okay, you need to heal from this. If not, you're not going to be able to be the best version of yourself or to walk in the purpose that God has for me on this earth.
So you struggled. I assume that based on what you just shared, you struggle with mental health challenges, right? So
yes, ma'am. It kind of shaped as far as depression. Anytime you go through any form of, like for me, I was trying to figure out what happened and why, why my sister did that and why the things that happened to me. I was thinking like, that I was the only one that went through these types of things. But, as I began to share my story, I'm not the only one who goes through, challenges in life. But I wanted to shed light on my story so it can actually encourage someone else to embark on a journey of healing, and then encourage them to talk about, their feelings, and if they have any traumas or wounds that they need to heal from, it'll actually encourage them to embark on that journey of healing.
Right. So when did you decide that you wanted to become a mental health psychiatric nurse? Was it after the healing or before the healing?
Kind of before that. I kind of knew that I knew that I struggled with depression at one point in my life. So, and I knew how it felt to be depressed, and I wanted to help someone else, out to help them bring the best out of themselves and let them know, hey, you don't have to be bound to depression or, stuck in a certain mental state. You can bring out the best of yourself, so that was one of the main reasons why I wanted to become a psychiatric mental health nurse. And then not just a psychiatric mental health nurse, but a nurse in general, because I have a love for people and I have a love for helping people.
Right. So how did sharing your personal struggles help you personally? Because to be honest, I personally struggle with mental health, like depression specifically, as well in the past. And I was on antidepressants for a while, and I realized it wasn't helping at all. And one day I was just like, enough is enough, right? This is not my life. This is not my story. I want to change that. So I actually, that's how I become a podcaster. Actually, I wanted to share my story just like you wanted to, share your story through a book. And when I shared my story openly on a public platform like Facebook, podcast, Instagram, and I realized I'm not the only one, like you said, right? I'm not alone in this. There's so many people struggling with depression. So, and that helped me in my own healing journey, knowing that I'm not alone. So how has sharing your story helped you personally? That's what I want to know, in your own healing journey.
Well, for me, it actually promotes, and it actually promotes me to be more of an inspiration to people, to be that light. God has called us to be a light to the world as well as the salt to the earth. So, and I'm all about being an inspiration to my fellow brothers and sisters, even in the faith. A lot of us, we go through these things and we carry shame where we don't want to talk about it. We feel like we're not worthy or we're inadequate because we went through a lot of different things in our past. So I wanted to, just be an example for them and let them know, hey, it's okay to talk about your past struggles, your past pains, your past hurt. It could actually help someone else out. It could actually promote the healing within someone else. So that was my biggest catalyst or my motivation for doing what I'm doing here now.
Why do you think so many people are afraid to share their past hurt and past trauma?
Well, for me, I know for me, it was shame. I was embarrassed. So I didn't want anybody in my business. I'm very private. However, I know that in order to heal, for me, I got my healing by actually talking about what I went through. It's almost like, I'm sharing my testimony, but as I'm sharing my testimony, I'm receiving a breakthrough by sharing it with others, with hopes that they'll receive a breakthrough if they've been through any of the emotional pain and struggle that I went through.
What was the first step for you? I mean, let's go back to the moment when you were still going through all that, difficulties, challenges, right? Depression and all that. What was the moment that made you realize that healing from trauma was possible? And what was the first step for you to seek help?
Well, when I actually went through a bout of depression, this was right after my sister's funeral. I was the whole time throughout the funeral, I did well. I thought I could handle it. But after the funeral, everything began to sink in as far as those feelings. It's like, I've lost her. She's not coming back. So at that point, as I began to feel depressed again, and then even before that, I was on the medication Wellbutrin. And I was like, okay, I don't know. I'm not going back on this medication anymore because I really didn't like the way that it felt. So at that point, I sought out therapy to sit down and talk about my feelings. At that point, I was able to process those emotions because a lot of times we feel like we process emotions, but we really haven't. And we hold those emotions in and we carry grief, which is very unhealthy. So I wanted to talk with a therapist to process those emotions, get a lot of those emotions out, as well as writing, because writing for me, it can be very cathartic. It's a way of me expressing my feelings, and it's also a way of me to release my emotions. So I wrote the book. I went through therapy. I actually began to pray more and seek the face of God more to help me go through this healing journey. Healing is not overnight. It is a process. So it took me a while, and there's still some things that God is still working on me about throughout this whole journey.
That's beautiful. So where are you today in terms of your mental health?
Well, I'm better. I'm taking a day at a time. I'm not grieving as much. Grieving is a process, especially like I said, for someone to be as close as they were to me. And then, at the time, my sister was living in the house with me as well. So that was a very heavy blow for me. So, I'm better. I'm taking it a day at a time. God is working on me each day, and I'm learning and I'm growing.
Yeah. As someone who let's talk about your work as well, helping others. So as someone who has experienced trauma firsthand, how do you approach supporting others facing similar mental health challenges or grief even?
First and foremost, I always try to encourage them to talk about their problems. Like I said before, a lot of us, we're so ashamed. We don't want to talk about our problems. So we carry that burden of grief, and it's not good. And it begins to weigh us down, and God does tell us to lay aside our burdens and cast aside those weights. So it's very important to talk about it, release the weights. And then from there, I feel like, the journey of healing is more conducive. I'm not going to say it's more easier, but like I said, it's more conducive and more progressive because I'm not being held down or weighed down by any emotional baggage or any trauma.
So what specific tools or exercise that you would recommend for people who are listening? Maybe they are not going through something as significant as the death of a loved one or, depression, but it's just the day-to-day, maybe anxiety or, the feeling of feeling lost, even confused, right? Those are affecting our mental health, right, on a daily basis. So what kind of exercise or tools would you recommend to people, to cultivate a better mental health state and cultivate self-compassion and self-care? Do you have any tools or exercise that you do on a daily basis?
For me, journaling is very helpful. By journaling, I'm writing out my thoughts, any feelings, any emotions, I'm writing them down and just keeping in a journal of them, as well as speaking positively over yourself. Life and death is in the power of your tongue. So just speaking positive things such as I am fearfully, I am wonderfully made, I am a child of God, I am valuable, I am worthy. Just that positive self-talk, it can make a big difference. It can actually change your mindset. It can shift your mindset, from a negative mindset or a negative way of thinking to a positive way of thinking.
Right. So what kind of questions can we ask ourselves? Like, let's say if you're journaling, right? Some people don't even know where to start, right? They are not an author like you. They are maybe not a writer. They don't even know where to start, what to write about. So do you have any questions for people to ask themselves or journal about?
So on a day-to-day basis, I would always start with, why am I feeling this way? What is the call? what is the root cause? So we always want to analyze the root cause in order to treat the whole problem. Once we analyze the root and we actually come up with the problem, the root cause, from there everything else will be able to solve, or God will be able to solve it for us. We just have to find the root cause as to why we're feeling this way or what's going on. So I think that is very important.
Right. So let's talk about something even something heavy, right? And something that I've never asked a guest before. It's about, because I know your sister committed suicide, right? And personally, I have had suicidal thoughts when I was going through depression. So what would you say to someone? Let's say, I know this is really a hard question, and I hope it's not making you uncomfortable. But if you were to go back to the moment that your sister wanted to take her own life, how would you help her?
I would actually sit down and talk to her, and I would encourage anyone who's going through or having any type of suicidal ideations to go talk with someone, whether it be a therapist. Do not be ashamed. You never know. People go through the same things that you go through in life, and just talking to someone can make a big difference, Talking to someone can actually save somebody's life, because it could just be a simple fix. They just need someone to talk positively to them, someone to speak life unto them. So that's very important to me.
But what if they do not want to talk about it? Because I have a friend, true story. He posted on LinkedIn. I mean, we are friends, but although he lives in Europe, I live in Asia, but we talk, and sometimes, we actually met in person, right? And one day he posted on LinkedIn, he posted a post sharing that he's going through some difficulties, he's going through some depression, and he's thinking about taking his own life. And I reached out to him, and he doesn't want to talk. So if someone doesn't want to talk and yet is having suicidal thoughts, like what can we do to help them?
So the best thing that I would say at that point is I would pray for them. I would have to pray like heavily for them and intercede for them. Just go to God. And then also, even if they don't want to talk about certain things, just speak positively over them. Send them a nice text message telling them, hey, you're worthy, you're beautiful, Just speak life unto them. It could make a big difference. It could actually change their mood as well.
Yeah, right. I hope I don't have to do that. But you never know, right? It's like you never know what people are going through behind the scene, right? Behind social media. I didn't know he was struggling with suicidal thoughts. I was so shocked. So, sometimes not you can just check in with your friends once in a while, check in your family, your sister. You never know what they're going through, right?
That's right.
Have you had any idea that your sister was going through all those emotions?
So yes, I did. Initially, before she even committed the act of suicide, I actually had her committed to a psychiatric mental health hospital 2 weeks before. However, they sent her back home maybe a week later, and I was thinking maybe since she had went through the whole psychiatric evaluation at the hospital, the doctors and the nurses had monitored her for a week, that she would be fine. I didn't suspect any of that until one day I came home and she was just like out of it. So, so it kind of just caught me off guard at that point.
Yeah, well, I know there are still people who don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. I know that to be true, because when I was in my depression, I was like, I couldn't see a light. Like I just couldn't, right? So what would you say to someone who is really stuck in their past hurt or trauma, and they don't really see a light at the end of the tunnel? There's just no way.
I would encourage them to let all of it go. We can't fix every problem. Just let go of the extra weight, the extra baggage. It'll weigh us down mentally, physically, emotionally. Just let go of it. Once you let go of it, it'll be so much freedom, and it'll be a release for you. You'll feel so much better. So, and then also, like I said, just speaking positively. A lot of us, when we get in a state of depression, we want to just have these negative thoughts and just speak negatively over ourselves. But for me, speaking positively and then just changing my mindset actually made a big difference for me. So
yeah, But so that sounds really impossible, right? For someone to speak positively over themselves, right? And what do you mean by letting go?
So a lot of us, like I said, anytime we have these ill emotions, whether it be depression, we're carrying, it's a root cause behind that. So if we're just releasing the root cause of that depression, just release it and, tell ourselves, and which means I have to tell myself, I can't carry the burden of, just even the burdens of others, because I carry the burdens of other people on my back. That's just me. I'm an empathetic person. But a lot of times I have to release that and just give it to God. Don't worry about it. Like, a lot of times we worry too much, worry about things that we have no control over. But once we release those worries to God, we don't have to worry about that anymore. Just let go of it. That's what I mean when I say let go. Let go and let God. You just give it to God and let him work it out.
Yeah, yeah. What is the ultimate message of your book? Like, what message do you hope readers take away from your story?
So for me, I'm hoping that, they'll be inspired to heal, to be delivered, to be set free, but then also to walk into purpose. Each of us on this earth, we have purpose. We have an assignment that we must fulfill, that God has us here. We're here for a reason. So, that's what I'm all about, purpose, walking into your purpose and being the best version of yourself.
I think you mentioned something really key, which is purpose, right? The purpose piece, because I think people who are going through depression or any significant challenges, or even just suicidal thoughts, because they don't see a purpose in their life. Like, life is meaningless, right? Life is purposeless. There's no reason why I should be in this world. There's no reason why I should be breathing. Just no reason, right? So why do I even exist? Like, that was the existential question that for people who are going through suicidal ideation, tend to ask themselves, right? And which is why they take their own life, because they don't see a purpose in life. So how do we find our purpose?
I know for me, at one point in time, I felt like, okay, I don't know what my purpose is. But then once I begin to deepen my relationship with God, he begins to reveal to me my identity and my purpose, and which is not found in this earth or amongst people, but it's found in Christ Jesus. So, and for me, my purpose is to impact others, to help others, to bring out the best in others.
Beautiful. All right. Is there anything that you really want to talk about? Perhaps I didn't ask you or didn't let you.
Not at this time. I just want to say thank you so much for having me. I love to speak and just be a light to others and an inspiration to others.
You are truly an inspiration, right? You are. And you're so strong. And, despite everything that you have gone through, you're still here and sharing your stories and helping others. I think that's real strength. And so thank you so much. Again, we always end with our final 5 rapid fire questions. So these are the 5 questions that I always ask my guests at the end of the show. And every question has to be answered in 1 word or 1 sentence maximum. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
The first question is, what is one thing you wish you knew earlier?
Peace.
Love that. If you could have a one-day do-over, which day would it be?
It would actually be when my sister passed last year. If I could go back and change that, I would, if I could.
I'm sure, yeah. If you could master one skill you don't currently have, what would it be?
Being a change.
If you could instantly solve one problem, what would it be?
Cancer.
Wow. The last question is, what brings you the greatest joy?
Being a light to others.
You are a light. Now, I know you mentioned in the beginning of the show, but now tell my people where they can buy this book and where they can connect with you.
Okay, so my book is actually online at Amazon.com as well as Barnes & Nobles. I'm on Facebook at Godly Affirmations, Demeka Vines Outreach Ministries, as well as TikTok. And my TikTok name is actually @author Demeka Vines. So if you want to follow me on TikTok or follow me on Facebook, you're more than welcome to.
So what is next for you? What are you working on right now? Would you be writing another book anytime soon?
Well, I do have another book that I'm working on as well. I'm actually going to be going on a book tour in a few months. So I'll be visiting a few states, probably about 3 or 4 states throughout this year. So I'm going to be doing some book promotions as well as writing another book and getting that published as well.
So what is the other book about? The next book?
It's about deliverance, being healed, being delivered, and being set free.
Oh, so it's actually, I would say, a continuation of the first book, right?
Yes, ma'am. In
Yeah,
essence,
beautiful.
yes.
That's so beautiful. All right, thank you so much again for coming and for your time and sharing so wonderfully, generously with our listeners today. All right, guys, go follow Demeka. I put all her links in the show note below. Buy her book at Amazon, and thank her for coming to our show today and shining a light. Remember to like and subscribe if you haven't already, so you never miss another episode coming to you every Wednesday. And I will always leave you the same way as I leave you every other episode. Show up. The one is you, and you need you. Thanks for listening, and I wish you all a joyful and amazing day ahead. Thank you again for tuning into Find Joy Joyan podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, take a screenshot and share it on your IG story and take Find Joy Joyan _podcast so I know you are listening. And leave us a positive review on Apple Podcasts if you haven't already done so. And remember to hit the subscribe button whether you are listening on Spotify, iTunes, Amazon Music, or any of your other favorite platforms. If you love what we are doing and want to become one of our sponsors, you can send me a DM to connect. And thanks for being here. I will see you soon in the next episode.